Testing Julius in the Smart Business Mindset podcast. I'm trying to get that all in one without stumbling. I feel like I'm about to stumble all over that. Okay.
Cut.
What's going on, family and friends of the SBM? We are back for another episode of our show. And guess what, guys? I am so lucky to be here today with Kristin Amere, and she is a good friend of mine, just to say that. We have been knowing each other for some years now, and she is joining me on this episode today. And guys, we're in for some great conversation around staying focused and understanding how you can stay focused to win big, and to have success in your career and your business. So, folks, just get it. We're going to get into this, and we're going to have a great conversation with Kristin. Before we get into it, though, I want Kristin to give her own elevator pitch about who she is, what she does, and I'm going to just kick it over to you, Kristin. How you doing, Kristin? What's going on?
I'm doing good. No, thank you. I truly appreciate the introduction and for you inviting me on the show today. I'm excited to chat with you. But yeah, so I'm the founder of Mold Me, and we are a nonprofit organization that provides high energy interactive workshops for teens and young adults. And we primarily talk about the topic of emotional intelligence. So we talk about things like thinking interdependently, being adaptable to change, having self acceptance, all those good things. And then, as well, I am a life coach. And so I love emotional intelligence, and that is something that I implement when I am coaching individuals. But my goal is just to identify and help individuals just meet their wildest dreams.
Love it, love it. Well, I know you personally, and I know this is something that you're totally passionate about, and something that you have been doing for a while now. And if folks, you're just now listening and things like that, but just to let you know, Kristen even helped me in my own career. I know we worked together, and she was almost like a mentor to me when I first started. When I first started at FedEx, and I know some of you all know that I worked there, and my little background on that. And she was a part of that team with me, and she helped me with a lot of things. And so this is why I knew having her on would help you all. And we're going to talk about staying focused. So I want to jump into some of these questions and see what Kristen has to say and how she can help you all. So let's just get into it. Since we're talking about staying focused, and we're talking about looking at how a person in their career, someone in their business, it is so important to be able to keep your eye on the ball, in a sense, right? We want to make sure that we're not
Mhm.
straying for what our goals are. And with that being said, what what do you do for yourself when you're looking at your business to stay focused? I know you are a mother, you are a friend, you are a daughter, you have all these other things going on in your life. But what are some of the things that help you to stay focused um, in your business and in your day to day?
Yeah. So it can seem and feel very complicated. So we had different components. So mother, business, you have your own personal self growth that you have financial things you're trying to work on, health and fitness, all that good stuff. And so I think that is very important to create pillars for your life. So, what are the 5 pillars in your life that are extremely important to you, and lay those out. And then beyond that, as far as accomplishing goals and staying focused, I learned this from my life coach, and I truly believe that in order to lead, you must first follow and continuously follow. It just kind of goes simultaneously, but you have to focus on one goal at a time. Even though you got 5 pillars, what's the one goal within that pillar that you really want to focus on and accomplish? And then you target that, and then you move forward from there. But it's hard. We're human beings, and it's hard for us to multitask. So I think just focusing on that one target is going to be the thing that'll really help you to focus and get those things done.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, having a pillar of things that you focus on, so you're not scatterbrained, so you're not focusing on the wrong things, and really
Mhm.
locking in, right? Locking into those goals that you really want to. I read a book, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it talks about the flow state, and I think that's something
Mhm.
in our lives. It's really hard to get into those flow states, to stay locked in, but it does take practice, right? It takes practice, and then looking at your goals on a daily basis, having those things outlined. And so, with that, how do you help your clients or people that you work with lining out those goals? What are some of the first steps they could take with you? What do you do to help people?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me is first understanding the individual. Like I said, you want to have your five pillars in life, and so identifying those, and there's different processes that we use to identify that. But once you do that, I think it's really good to understand why you may not have accomplished those goals in the past. It's a lot of work that we do, but the work is well worth it, because once you get that process down, then it's going to be easy for you to kind of knock those goals down one at a time. But you do have to go backwards a little bit just to understand, why wasn't this working out for me in the past? What are some things that hindered me? What can I do different? And so that way, as we're moving forward, we don't have those things kind of creeping up on us and stopping us from getting to our
Yeah,
goals.
I mean, definitely don't want that to happen. And I think, like you said, being able to work alongside you, someone like you having a coach. Even you said you have a life coach. I know
Mhm.
personally, I've had coaches in the past or mentors, and some of them didn't even know they were, but then they just helped to keep me accountable. Sometimes I was, check in with them, and they would just give me advice on things that I'm doing in my career or where I'm at right now, or where my mindset is, how I can stay focused, which is the whole crux of this podcast is really understanding someone's mindset. So, um, as you're
Mhm.
looking at the mindset of someone that you are yourself, what are some of the things that
Mhm.
you do personally? And this could be this something you do. And it isn't maybe you don't even talk to your clients about. What do you do personally that helps you to keep a great mindset to stay focused? Like in the morning, what are some of your morning routines? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think for me, I think we can kind of
Yeah.
backtrack a little bit and just start like, hey, what's the overall goal here? So I'm very goal oriented, and that kind of affects my mindset. And so at the beginning of the year, I always make sure that I do a vision board. It's phenomenal. So, just putting pictures together to try to say, hey, what is my vision for this year? I do that, and then I put it by my bed. And so that kind of drives my goals throughout the year and on a day-to-day basis. But just to kind of break it down a little bit further, so I have my vision, I can see that, very spiritual, and so I lean on God for a lot, and we know that we can have our own goals, but things can change. So I'm very flexible in that manner. But I have goals that I believe that I have, and I want those to work out. And so in order to kind of get those in play, like I said, I have the five pillars. So, my family, my career growth, my spiritual growth. I have financial and health as well. So that's really huge. And then from there, I have the one goal that I'm wanting to accomplish within those. And I break those down into weeks. So some of the goals are bigger. When it comes to finances, maybe it's some debt that's trying to be paid off. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a savings account that's trying to be built. And so that may take a little bit longer, but how do you take that into bite sized pieces to get that accomplished? And there are some goals that are smaller, like, hey, I want to work out 3 times this week, but it's all broken out into weekly goals and ensuring that I hit those five pillars every single week. And it just kind of, as you go through the year, you'll start to see some type of progress. So I'm actually reading, and I am not done with it at all, but a book called Atomic
Nice.
Habits.
Like
And
I
they
said,
just kind of talked about how, hey, maybe at the end of the year you want to be at 100%, but maybe it's February and I'm only at 20 or
right.
30%. That's fine. You just got to do a little bit every week so that you can get to those goals.
Oh yeah, I love that book. I actually have it somewhere in here, but I've read it twice,
Neat.
and it's definitely one of those
Mm.
books that, like you said, it does help you to get very routine and like look at your habits and see how they affect your results. And if you're a result
Mhm.
oriented person, and you want to have good habits, I think that's a really good book to definitely have in your book collection. If you like reading, even if you can get it on audio, so you can definitely do that. So, as we kind of move along into these other parts of the question, I want to get a little bit more personal and just when it comes to you and like what made you decide to go this route? What are some of the reasons that this made this your vision? Because the last episode I talked about was vision. So, what made it into
Okay.
something part of your vision? So, tell us a little bit about that, your background, and why did you choose this as an avenue to as your pillar or your focus?
Yeah, yeah. So I think my focus with Mold Me, life coaching, and a lot of different things that I do, even with work, is emotional intelligence. And the reason why I really got into EI is because when I was younger, I was living in this small town called Petersburg, Virginia. It's near Richmond, Virginia. A lot of people know about that
Okay.
area. But me and my mom, we were moving around a lot. I went to like 8 different schools before I was in that 10th grade. So just like consistent change, consistent movement. But what I was finding is that when I was in the public schools, it was a situation where schools weren't necessarily accredited. I think because of the area we were living in, there were limited resources. So the families didn't have the basic means that they needed for like food, clothing, shelter. And that causes a lot of stress with teens. It's like, hey, I got a lot going on at home. So I'm kind of bringing that into the school. So, nonetheless, in that environment, it was a situation where students were disrespecting the teachers, getting F's in classes, not dressing out for PE. Like that was kind of like the
Okay.
environment. And I became that person. Well, there was one time when I went to private school, and it was a really great environment. I mean, the teachers were awesome, students were bright and bubbly, parents were throwing birthday parties left or right. Like it was just a good, positive environment. And when I was there, I excelled. So I was in a lot of different organizations. I was cheerleading, playing softball. Like I'm just like this bubbly person. And that was kind of like my younger years. But when I was in public school, one of the times, because I said I went to 8 schools, right? So I was in and out of all of
Right.
these different
Yeah.
types of schools. There was one situation where I ended up bullying somebody, then I ended up getting bullied, and I got bullied so bad that I had to move to Texas, which is, why I'm still here. But it was just a really bad situation for me. Thankfully, after I moved to Texas, I got my life together, went to Prairie View A&M University, I've got my master's, done executive coaching school, done all the things. But what I started to learn is that emotional intelligence is very important. I was in a program when I was in college called Inroads, and they pretty much had us in the summertime on Saturday classes teaching us about emotional intelligence. Now, Inroads is not like some EI program. It is a program that provides internships for minorities. So internships is a job,
Right. Right.
but we talked about emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence piece just kind of helped us to be adaptable to change. They knew we had the skill or we wouldn't have got the job. So we can do that piece, but you need to know how to be in a corporation, how to deal with other people. And I'm like, my goodness, I'm really learning some things. This is helping me to be successful at work, but then also with my family and my peers. And then, like you said, we both work for FedEx. At FedEx, they teach about emotional intelligence a lot. And I was like, well, dang, this is helping me at work to be successful. But again, with my family, friends, people I'm just now meeting. And I said, you know what? If I would have known this when I was a teenager, then I wouldn't have got into a lot of trouble that I was
Yeah.
in. Because, like I said, in public schools, I was emulating the students that were there. In private schools, I'm emulating the students that were there. I can't blame anybody from that. But if I would have been more rooted in who I was and knew about emotional intelligence, I would not allowed my environment to change me. And I know, from research and qualitative research, data, all that good stuff, that it didn't just happen to me. It's happening to a lot of
Hmm.
people. And so teens can't necessarily decide, oh, I'm going to go to this nice public school, or, I'm going to be
Right.
at this private school, what have you. But wherever you are, whatever situation you are in, it's not your fault. But let's just learn how to adapt and make the best out of where we are. So that's why I do that for the teens, but it definitely is applicable to adults as well. I have to train and learn myself so much. And so, that life coaching piece kind of ties into that too.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on some a really great topic. I can even say for my own self growing up, I know I can be it's very relatable to me as well. I mean, it's applicable like to a lot of people, like by the research, by the data that you just mentioned. And I can even say for my own childhood, I didn't move around a lot, but I was in situations where my household wasn't the best. So it did mess with my
Mhm.
attitude at school. It messed with who I was when I went to school, my focus, right? It was hard to focus. And so I would say that all of those things can impact your focus. But when you get into an environment, like you said, where you can thrive, or even have someone that's on your team to hold you accountable, to help you get through this life. Whether that's a life coach,
Mhm.
a therapist, whatever, it's someone out there that's going to help you to fix whatever is going on and then get you on the right track and to stay focused. So I definitely can understand that. And thank you for sharing that. I know that that's something that a lot of folks can take away from this conversation that we're having today. Um, Now, talking about takeaways, what are some of the takeaways if we, as we're talking about these things, what is something big that you want the audience to know? Like, what is some of the takeaways they need to know about what you and staying focused? What are some of those things that really matter to their success that you want to make sure that you tell them today, the audience?
Yeah, yeah. So we've talked a lot about accountability, and I think that that is huge. So some people, I think it's a very rare number, have the ability to hold themselves accountable. But if you don't, and which I think is the majority of the population, give yourself with a friend or, like I said, I have a life coach, a mentor, anything, someone that is going to help you to stay accountable for your goals. If you don't know where to start, I think books are really good. Like we said, we just talked about atomic habits. I think that that is really good. Purpose driven life is very important because, I think when you have a goal and you have a purpose tied to it, it's really going to make you want to do it. So find your goals, and then from there have somebody to hold you accountable. And if you don't know how to do it, you can definitely reach out to me on www.kristinamere.com. But I think it's just very important to start with one bite at a time. So you want to break it down to weekly, but sometimes it does take some real work to figure out, why do I even have this goal? What am I trying to do? And then how do I want to do it? So, and there's so many, like you said, like we've mentored each other because you've helped me in so many different areas. So if you don't want to get a life coach, that's completely fine, but just find a friend, family member. There's so many people out here with so many talents and that can relate to you too, and have them hold you accountable. Just have the conversations. We really want to figure out, hey, what's our purpose here in life? What are my goals with my 5 pillars? And how am I going to break that down bite size weekly? And then reflect. And then also think, how am I going to reward myself at the end when I've accomplished these goals? That's always a good treat to know I've done what I said I was going to do, and I'm going to get a reward from
Oh
that.
yeah, who doesn't like the reward of the success? Even if you're not even reached that goal yet, but you just been consistent. Sometimes people forget to even just
Mhm.
reward themselves for being consistent, even though the goal hasn't even been accomplished yet. Because sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it can take you
Mhm.
several years to get to that goal that you have, especially when you think about finances or you're thinking about buying a home or whatever it may be. That may take a little bit more time. You need to stop, give yourself a pat on the back, whether that's a trip with your girls or your boys or whatever that may be. Do something that's going to lighten that day and then make you feel like, okay, I want to get back at it. And something else that stood out to me is something you said, and this is I guess it's a personal question for my own self, and I just thought about it
Mhm.
because you said this, and you mentioned friends and family and having them as mentors or coaches. But what is your take about working with someone or talking to friends and not actually getting the right advice? What would you say? Is there
Mhm.
a because some of our friends are just gonna be in our corner even if we right or wrong. They're just gonna say, yeah. They'll give you
Yeah.
that thing. So, what would you tell someone about choosing, I guess, the right friend or the right person? What does that look like? I just my own self. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, that kind of brings me back a little bit to how I was talking about how I was like as a teenager. Like I get over here, I'm emulating these people. I get over here, I'm emulating these people. But as adults, we have free reign, right? So we're not just stuck in a particular position. So I would say when you're looking for a mentor or somebody that you want to work with or somebody that you want to share your wildest dreams with, um, I was gonna say, think, would I trade places with this person? But that's
Okay.
hard because
Yeah.
anybody, even like Oprah, I'm like, I don't know. Like I was given my life and my body for a reason. So I wouldn't trade places with him. But it's like, do you look up to them? Have they accomplished a goal? Have they been consistent in a certain area that you're like, hey, this is the person that I want to go share my dream with and get some advice on how to accomplish that? Do you feel that way about that person? If not, then that may not be the best person to be your accountability partner. Maybe that's just your friend, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know. And some people also, if you break that down, so everybody's not good at everything. They have theories of intelligence. So some people are good at music, some people are good at sports, some people are good at like that interpersonal, self love type of thing. Some people are interpersonal, they're good with networking. So for that particular goal, that's why I say you want to break it down into 5 pillars, one bite size at a time. Does that person emulate that? And if not, then maybe you don't want to utilize them as your mentor. I think a lot of times we take ideas and dreams to people and they shoot them down because they just don't
Yeah.
know. You know, I'm not amazing with numbers and finances and all that good stuff. I do it because I have to. But if somebody comes and like, oh yeah, I want to be an accountant. Oh, you know, I can help you through the process, but that's just not my
Yeah.
area of expertise. And that's okay. I think anybody that's saying that they can be everything to everybody is not being
Oh,
realistic.
yeah.
So you got to broaden your area. You have to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to get out. If you don't have those people in your circle, I'm gonna meet different people because we're living a life. So you know, we may not have even met the person that is going to inspire us yet. Get with networking groups, meet people. You know that's very important. But I think the biggest thing from that, do they emulate what you're trying to do?
Now, folks, now this was my personal question. So I know there was nuggets for me. Hopefully, you got these nuggets. Kristen just gave us a bunch of gems and advice. And I'm like, ooh, soaking it all up. And she said some things that even resonate with me. I will say, like, since the pandemic, I've been in my own like circle, a bubble of like, I remember I was a big on networking. I haven't done really any real networking probably since the pandemic. And I can't say I feel a little
Mm,
stagnant just in my own career, just around like being inspired. And I feel like I inspire the people around
mm-hmm,
me, but I'm not inspired by so many of the people maybe that's in my close circle. And that's something that I really, outside of you, of course. Now we know you inspire me every single day, but there are like, I want to be able to see other people that I like. I used to when I was, when you first getting into your career, everybody inspire you because it's like you want to, you have so, or you feel like you have so less, so it's easy to get inspired by somebody. Now when you
right.
seasoned in your career or you're seasoned in your role or your job or your business, you sometimes kind of fall around, you're more so the teacher or the person inspiring the people around
Mm-hmm.
you, and you kind of lose sight of like who can inspire you or push you to go further. And so I mean what you just said is definitely something I'm going to take with me, just my own personal struggles. So family, friends. Kristen is going to tell us a little bit how you can find her, how you can reach to her. She just gave you these nuggets. So, Kristen, tell us where you can find. I know you said it already, but if you can repeat it and let people know where they can find you, follow you, start working with you if they want to. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So, from a Mold Me standpoint, where we do high energy interactive workshops with teens and young adults around the topics of emotional intelligence. So, again, we talk about thinking independently, having self acceptance, being adaptable to change, things in that nature. You can reach us at www.moldme.org. We are looking to work with schools, rec centers, any organization that are currently working with teens and young adults. So we would love to hear from you. And if you're interested in having a life coach, you can reach out to me on www.kristinamere.com. And I'd love to hear from you, love to chat with you, love to do a consultation. But yeah, Julius, I appreciate you so much. This has been an amazing time. I'm just thinking, I know you just kind of talked about, and I think that that is so good that when you first get started, it's like everybody can inspire you. But I think that now, and we have the willpower to do it, you just have to be intentional about the people that you are targeting. So you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm just here, I'm just doing my day to day. Like you always want to get that excitement that you had on the front end. Everybody inspired. Like we can always feel that way. Everybody inspires me. You just got to level
yeah,
up and you got to be a little bit more intentional. Like maybe we have to go to the conferences that do cost money to
right,
go to because we've leveled up a little bit,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You know, in order to meet people, you know, maybe I got to get out a little bit more and join some organizations. But we always want to feel like, hey, I'm up here, I'm excited, you know, I have hope, all that good stuff.
yeah.
Just got to do a little bit more work to feel that way.
Absolutely. I mean, you are right. I mean, I definitely feels exactly what you just said. And even when you mentioned that, that's what I got inspired by. Is like, maybe I need to expand my thinking on what am I doing to reach new people, to be inspired by new people. And I'm sure I'm not the only person. I think when you get into, your, closer to 40, which I am, you start feeling like that. I think that's what people talk about
Mhm.
when you think of these people that are, millionaires, billionaires. They get bored. They get bored of their friends, and they feel like everybody is just people. And so I get that. I'm not a billionaire or a billionaire just yet, but
No, I know what you mean.
but I do think that, hey, it can be like, okay, well, even at work, even at things that you do, you just feel like it's like, okay, this is what's next, and how do you get to that next that inspire you to want to get up and just be fired like you was in the beginning. And so, yeah, you made some really good points
Mhm.
there. So, family, friends, I mean, this was a great episode, and we're just chugging along with these different type of topics. If you're not already tuning in to our episodes at the SBM um, podcast or show, or you're not following us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even our Instagram, you are missing out. We have more and more of these type of guests coming up, and just looking forward to the next episode where I'm going to do the rundown on our two guests that we talked about, and then things that we have been talking about so far, which is focus and vision, and seeing my own personal struggles with those. And we're going to have a conversation on the next episode with just you and I talking about that. So, family and friends, don't forget to like, share this with people that can relate to this. We're looking forward to more of these episodes. Keep looking forward, and love you, people. Peace. Testing Julius in the Smart Business Mindset podcast. I'm trying to get that all in one without stumbling. I feel like I'm about to stumble all over that. Okay.
Cut.